TPR.
Hi everyone, welcome to the third Roundup episode. This one is where we will wrap up the Roundup of Coke Studio. Now that the season is finally over, our first one, the first Roundup episode we did, we were only 4 songs in, but now it's all over. So we're gonna conclude the discussions of this and never talk about it again. With us, we have returning guest, star of the first episode, where everyone kept on writing how well spoken and smart and everything this guy was. Sarfraz, thank you very much for coming back.
Thank you. I paid a lot for all
Yeah,
those people
yeah,
to,
yeah. It's that
yeah,
foreign currency thing, political references,
remittances.
and everything. How are things? How are you doing? Feeling?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good.
It was a little busy here because of the expo in Dubai,
No.
but yeah, but it's over. So finally getting a chance to breathe.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So then, hard segue to Coke Studio. It's over. How do you feel season 14 did
Hmm.
overall as like an effort? Like, what do you think the vision was, and how was it executed?
I'm not sure if this was intentional, but as the season progressed, it felt like, and we had talked about this in our previous roundup as well, that Zulfi is not really expressing himself as he likes to in terms of you know certain compositional techniques,
Yeah.
and we discussed that, and literally every song after
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
is like that,
Yeah.
right? So it almost felt like the season 14 almost felt like a Zulfi Trojan horse, where he comes in sounding a lot like traditional Coke Studio with like Tujhum. It's very like accessible to people who like the old
Yeah.
Coke
Yeah.
Studio, and then he slowly transitions into like his kind of signature sound and like experimenting with other stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounded a lot more like Zulfi in the second half of the
Right.
season. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. And it does feel, yeah, if you put it like that, it does feel, I don't know if this was Zulfi, if you're seeing this, hit me up. But so that we can get the real answer. But it felt like to Jhoom is the starting point. So that's the bridge from Coke Studio
Mm,
past to now. And every song goes further and further, pushes further and further. Obviously, there's a lot of other people producing, the songs with Zulfi. So there is like a diversity of
sure.
styles.
But I'm sure they've recorded these songs, and I don't think that they presented them in the order in which they recorded them.
Sure.
So they probably had a track list in mind of how
Okay.
to release these songs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it seemed like you're going from like existing to newer boundaries as the thing
I think
progressed.
so too. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
And so they did well in that. If that was the vision, you think?
If that was the vision, I think so. I think the second half of this season has some straight up bangers.
Yeah,
Some of them are okay,
yeah,
but a lot of really really good tracks. So they also ended on a high, right? Like
mm,
Pir Milenge was
yeah,
like, yeah. I mean, it was divisive. I think when it first came out,
yeah.
like
I
it
didn't
it
like it.
didn't feel like
I
it
thought it
was
was fine.
right. I also
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
it's okay,
yeah,
and then it like really crept up on you, and then you're like, oh shit, it's just like it it really does leave an impact, I think, at
yeah,
the
yeah,
end,
yeah. Pir
especially
Milenge,
go ahead.
the Pir Milenge is positioning in the track listing thing, like you said. Pir Milenge was always, I think, positioned as the closer just because
Yeah,
of the theme
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
song. But yeah,
They went all out with like hammering the point home that this is the season closer, because when
yeah,
the when the video released, they had like in the description they had like nothing, right?
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if you noticed this, like nothing. It's like till we meet again. I was like,
yeah.
okay, cool. Like, oh acha, I miss, is this the end, is this the last song by any chance? So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but it was a very hard hitting emotional track. I think especially the last verse that Vessel
Bro, Faisal brought it.
delivers.
Faisal brought it. Like
Oof.
strings, you can have your opinions about strings being whatever they are. Izzy Khwaja has many opinions. But like hearing Faisal on that song, I was like, yeah, bro, he's like one of our
Yeah,
biggest dudes.
seriously, and like boy, like the first two verses, they're nice, they're building
Yeah.
up, but that last one,
Yeah.
the last one
Yeah,
when he
yeah,
like
yeah.
lets it all out, bro, it's peak Marsh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what did you think of like the second half of the season? Like anything after our first roundup? What did
So
you
like
think?
Ye Dunya onwards. So Ye Dunya, I think if I remember correctly, came out like the day uh the first round of episode came. So it
Hmm.
wasn't discussed. I think it was like there were some really like interesting ideas, like Ye Dunya itself, okay, was the video was insane.
Hmm.
As an achievement or as like a technical, vision. Zishan Pervez, I mean, if we're talking about great people,
Yeah,
we knew because that Zishan Pervez,
of
he's
course.
been a musician and he
Yeah.
does video. But like I think he really exceeded even our already very high expectations of Zishan
He
Pervez.
brought, yeah, exactly. And he did Ye Dunya, he did Beparwa, I believe.
I think
Phir
so.
Milenge.
Tujhum.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tuj Hum.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
like, yeah, it was all of them were like amazing bangers. And if you saw the BTS for Phir Milenge, they said that it's going to be one take audio,
yeah,
one take video.
yeah, yeah.
So, shut up call to all the naysayers, basically.
And I think Pirmile Kanayari was also a one track, one take sort of emulation,
Hmm.
not fully,
Hmm.
but Pirmilengi, when I saw it at times, I was like, yeah, this can't be one take. This can't be. Oh, I think here
Yeah.
maybe, but I think it was
No.
it
You
was.
don't see any like those hidden cuts
Yeah,
anywhere where maybe
yeah,
it would
no
pass through a
wipes.
wall or something.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Um,
They look clean.
so breaking down the thing, because I have to
Hmm.
go in sections and everything. I did a poll on Instagram. People watching, if you participated, thank you very much. And I thought I'd get some opinions from the people, and then how we feel about this stuff. So there were four questions. One was, what is your favorite song? Then was, what is, in your opinion, the best video? What was the most unexpected collaboration? And then also, then I didn't want to get this in initially, but then I was like, all right, might as well. What is one
Hmm.
complaint you might have from this
Sure.
season? So let's go to the answers. I'll give you like a top three. People had many answers, there are lots of songs,
Yeah.
but let's just stick to the top three and then we'll sort of react to them. So starting with the favorite song in order, one, two, and three, the most written in song was Ye Dunya, and then Pasuri, and number three was Kannayari. Now there's Go, there's Tujum, Mazasari, everything was there.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
from the responses that came in, Ye Dunya, Pasuri, Kannayari. So do you think that's expected?
That's interesting. Do you think that you've accounted for the bias in perhaps your audience? Because
What sort of bias?
our our like we grew up listening to this genre.
Yeah.
um you know Ye Dunya, we had discussed this Limp Bizkit. Well, his
Yeah.
sound,
Yeah.
especially Zulfi, was very involved in this
Yeah.
production of this sound. So it might be possible that people that follow you, or maybe also, you know
I don't
it's
know.
surprising. Honestly, it's a very surprising choice, because i I mean, I don't know, man. Like, there's like, when there's like a small thing in a song
Yeah.
that can, like, or like in a piece of work that can like put you off from the entire thing. We've discussed this before, like the rat in The Departed at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm like, fuck this,
Yeah. Yeah. One of the
right?
best scenes in
And
cinema, I think, ever.
yeah, just shit on it, right?
Yeah.
So Ye Dunya had a similar scene, which
Okay.
me personally kind of like threw me off from
What
it
was it?
entirely. And okay, yeah, we discussed this. So Faris's verse
Yeah. Doesn't
in
fit
Ye
the song.
Dunya, uh, it doesn't fit the song at all,
Yeah.
right? And they kind of like Frankensteined his last two
Yeah.
lines to like stick the landing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Faris has always had a very strong "don't call my phone" policy. Like,
Yeah.
he has multiple songs before and after Ye Dunya where he says, "Don't call me," right?
Yeah.
And then this one, he's like, if you need a friend, what's the line? You can call my phone,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Interestingly,
So this sudden,
there is a reason for this. So now that you mention it, it comes to mind. There's a recent episode on Kazi's podcast, Kya Kahe Kazi, with Sherry Khattak, lead of Karakaram and heavily involved in the production. Neither of these people were supposed to be on the song. So, yeah, they went with they had two other people. There was supposed to be one featuring person only in the song. So they had two options. The first one and the second one fell through for admin reasons, for whatever the reasons might be.
Okay.
And then these two names were floated, and then a decision was reached to include both. So initially, it was not necessarily going to be a rapper. And then when it was going to be a rapper, it wasn't going to be either of these people.
I see.
Yeah. Does that put things into more context?
Yeah. Then I feel like it kind of also shakes that impression that you might have of like it being very well kind of curated and put together. It might have been a lot more chaotic behind the scenes.
Sherry said he had like a couple of compositions that Zulfi was like just rejecting. He was like, no, you're just doing the same thing. Bring something new. And then they wrote this initially with Adnan Dhul of, I always forget his band's name, but he's also in the season. Sketches? No, not Sketches. Soch the man. Yes, of course. Yeah. I'm sorry. But they wrote this together, the riff, the hook, everything. And then they were like, they didn't even know. So there was no like thematic insertion for the rap will say this.
Right.
Or the featuring act will say this.
So the rap part, I feel like, was melded towards fitting in the theme of the song. So if you listen to like Tala's fit. But Faris's one is like 95% of his verse is pure peak Faris. And then suddenly he's like, oh, call me anytime, man.
Yeah.
So so that kind of, it's like a plane crosswind landing nahi ho rahi hoti. So they approach like this, and then last minute they have to adjust.
Yeah.
It just throws me off from the song. It's a great song. It's really well produced. Faris is great on it. Like, everyone's great on it. It's just that you can feel like it wasn't thought through. And now that you've told me this story, I can understand why.
Yeah. Pasuri at number 2. I would have thought Pasuri globally is number 1.
I don't even understand. Like, I think there should be a Pasuri minus list because Pasuri is like blown the charts completely.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but like I also find myself not skipping Pasuri.
Initially, I was also mid on Pasuri. I was like, all right, it's decent.
But now when it comes on, I'm like, I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to it. It's great.
It's really established itself as like one of the killers on the thing.
Yeah. The middle section, because we had discussed our roundup when Pasuri had just come out, so it didn't really like become an earworm at that time. We were like, it's nice, it's a nice track, but it has staying power for sure. And obviously because these like global viral charts and stuff, and all these like React video people like reacting. I know that. Yeah, you had mentioned on your podcast that there's this
Judwaz
across the border people. Judwaz, yeah. So I think that also propelled it, but it on its own is also a pretty fantastic track.
Yeah. And then I think number 3 on this was Kanayari, which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Kanayari. Also, I mean, it's been what, like 14, 15 songs we've had, right? So Sikandar, sometimes you're like, okay, Kanayari bhi tha. It doesn't like, it's a nice track. I mean, don't get me wrong, all of them are nice tracks, but
I would say cynically that being a Balochi language song has some like hidden good vibes in it. I mentioned that underrepresented, which is something we'll come to also, that the good vibes that come with, oh wow, great, we've never heard a mainstream Balochi production, and these guys are great and the video is great. I think that
so
might
we have
also
to like
be
it.
helping. Yeah, well, I mean, it might subconsciously be helping push the song further than you might have thought.
Right.
If you had to do go ahead.
A top 3?
Yeah.
If I had to do a top 3, if you look at the metric of like in terms of like a technical perspective or in terms of like re-listenability, these are two very separate tracks. I feel like if it's
all inclusive for me.
All inclusive. Yeah, I'm gonna be like super awami and say like Pasuri is maybe number one for
Fair.
me.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have to
Um,
rank them even if that makes
yeah,
it easier.
okay. So
Yeah.
like the three that I would probably think are like the standout tracks for me would be Pasuri, Tujhum, and it might be a tie between Phir Milenge and Thagya.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, what about you?
I think yeah, Phir Milenge will definitely be there. Thagiya will be there. Uh, I don't know. I listen to Moses Arif a lot.
Oh
Uh,
shit, huh?
yeah,
Moses Arif.
Moses
That's
Arif.
also sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if there was a clear top three, it would be yeah, Pasuri maybe for me also. So it's these similar
Mm,
ones. Thagiya though,
Moses
man,
Arif is also like great though.
Moses Arif is great.
Um,
Yeah,
Moses
Moses Arif
Arif
is
is great.
Faris unleashed to the point where
Unleashed,
Sarkhel is
unleashed, but
like
like as
even
much as Coke can allow though, you
sure,
know,
sure. But even there, Sarkhel
it's a
is like,
little
oh,
sanitized.
the third act had too much Misha. I'm like, I mean, she has to be somewhere. But
Yeah. No,
yeah,
it's that's the thing about I think the Coke sound, especially for this season, or generally, you know, being a corporate
mm,
venture, is that it's a lot of like just good vibe songs.
sure.
No really tackling any issues or problems or expressing. I
Misha's
mean,
lyrics
Pakistan
though
has
are
issues.
Misha's lyrics are
Misha's lyrics
though
are.
quite Misha
That's
life.
true. That's true. Yeah.
So that is there. Acha. Next category. Next category is let's go with best video. So then again, now the top
Mm.
three in this, just by number of people who said this, Pasuri number one,
Mm.
Kannayari number two, and number three, Beparwa. Which of these do you agree should be in the top three?
There was Kannayari, Beparwa, and
Pasuri number
what
one.
was the Pasuri number one? Hmm. It's a really tough pick, honestly. Beparwa, I think from a technical perspective, is
Set
it
design,
should be
bro.
on there.
Yeah, Hashim Ali, once again.
Yeah, Hashim Ali with the the chroma and stuff. Like you saw the BTS, like they put something really
Yeah,
like
yeah,
serious together
yeah.
for it. We're not going to talk about the song, but the video was, uh, yeah, I think that should be on the top three for
Okay.
me. I know that you would probably put Mehram. Would you still put Mehram on the top three video in terms of the set design?
Yeah, sorry. When I was talking about this, I was thinking about Meram. What was Beparwa? Beparwa, oh, right. Zishan Pervez Momina. Right. A song I have
Yes,
written off.
that's what I meant, right? That's what I meant when
Right.
I said we're not going to talk about the song,
Yeah,
but
sure. But
that's the
Beparwa,
one with the forest and like
yeah, is Beparwa a good video or is it a great set? Or are those two
hmm.
like not,
Hmm. Yeah,
separable?
those are separate things, of course. I mean, you maybe have to look at it from a perspective of like, does the final effect like wow you? Does it
Yeah,
create some sort of emotional impact? I feel like
because
Vaporwa's video did have an emotional impact.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I also feel like Phir Milenge also had an emotional impact, but
yeah,
for a slightly different reason. When in the third act, if you see the orchestra comes in,
yeah.
and that orchestra is Sachel Studios.
Yo, yeah. And
Yeah,
there,
Sachel
I
Studios, right?
was
And
sort of sad to see them because I was like, oh no, they're
right.
all
So
so
that is an
old.
unintentional like emotional impact because
Yeah,
if you've seen the documentary, जो Lahore, उसकी थी, Song of Lahore,
some of
and
Lahore,
like
yeah.
the struggles that these people have been through, and you see them at this age and they're performing, and like, yeah, I don't know if they intended that, but shit,
No.
man,
I
that
don't
was
think
like,
they did because they were like
yeah,
being really like open about it. Oh, these guys are any Pakistani movie you've seen the soundtrack, it's been these guys and blah blah, and they're all
yeah,
like so
yeah,
old and
yeah,
not in like
they're
the best
so,
of condition, health, appearance. I don't know what
it's,
to say.
yeah.
And I was like, shit.
So, yeah, I mean, shout out to I guess Zulfi to get these people on board.
Yeah.
Get them on board. Get Justin Bieber's on board.
Mm,
All these like different artists that are kind of like just out of the periphery of like modern
pop culture.
contemporary like
Yeah.
pop culture.
Yeah.
Um, So good on him, honestly. And I feel like if you had to do like an orchestral, like a full orchestra set, then these are your only guys anyway, unless you fly people in, which that doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. So good on him. I think that for me felt very emotional.
Yeah. It hit.
Like the Pirmiling at that part of it really
Yeah.
hit. Um, After that, I would say Beparwa's video was, from a technical perspective, also it was really really well done. I think that was really nice. And then mm, I don't know, honestly, like maybe Tujum still.
I was
It's tough though.
thinking,
Like,
yeah. I was
eh?
expecting you'd say Tujong. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was. It's still a really really well made video. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a little um safe now
Sure.
considering the rest of the songs that
Yeah.
have come out.
Yeah.
It was kind of, but that's what we discussed, right? From a song and a video perspective, it was the most like relatable to like legacy Coke Studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that. But Pasuri was also very good. I think shout out, like maybe tied with like second place, I guess.
I'd say Pasuri, I feel it's the same thing that would be Parwa, like, is it a great set or is it a great video? Which is a question
Mm,
then I would have to think of in terms of Mehram, because Mehram's like a wild set, but the video maybe is
mm,
not as,
flashy.
complex or whatever.
Yeah.
In Pasuri
Yeah.
also, it's like a great, great set, but like they're not,
Mm,
doing some stuff like Ye Duniya's video has like a lot
mm,
of, but there's no set. It's like some warehouse, and everything has
yeah.
been created, with the light walls and like the CGI and everything.
The CGI and
So
stuff.
I
True.
might put Ye Duniya in there. Mehram again, I'll put, but aware that if I put Mehram, then Beparwa also deserves to be there. Um, yeah, I think Go was very simple. Piche Hut was a great set. A
Which
different,
also had some very interesting like little quirks in there.
yeah,
With the 8-bit
yeah, yeah.
outro and stuff. So
Studio Rohan, yeah,
yeah, Studio Hunt, exactly.
yeah,
So it's like that was also like they had. I think it was overall. Um, I don't think a top three would be enough to
yeah.
cover like all
Sure,
the great
sure,
videos
fair.
on there. Maybe a five
Yeah,
or top five would cover enough. You would have to leave. There's some that are like really equal, on equal footing to like
Hmm.
every other ones.
Okay.
What's your
Most
yeah?
most unexpected collaboration. Number one, Piche Hut. Number two, Moses Pir Milenge. Number three, Moses Sarif. And then there's Tu Jhum Go Thagia.
Hmm.
But yeah, Piche Hut, most unexpected, Pir Milenge, Moses Sarif. How does that feel? Moses Sarif was
I don't think.
surprising
Yeah,
because,
actually, you know what? Moses Sarif is actually a more surprising collaboration
mm,
than Piche Hut,
yeah,
because Talal Qureshi has already worked with Hassan Rahim,
a
so that's
lot.
not really a
Yeah,
surprise. And Talal also has a tendency to collaborate with like interesting, loud female vocalists as well.
he
So
did
he
a
kind of
Nasibo
finds
thing way before
exactly he
there were
the
Nasibo things.
Nasibo
Yeah.
Renaissance was like, yeah, courtesy him. So that also doesn't feel that surprising. It feels very
Mm.
natural. But the Misha and Faris one was, I think, the most surprising. It was
Yeah,
nice,
yeah, yeah.
sibling scene.
Phir Milenge?
Uh, Phir Milenge, I mean, they'd already established a pop with rap sound before in this season already, so it wasn't really like a shocking thing.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think it was that surprising to me.
sure.
I think still the most surprising was probably Moses Sarif.
Just out of
In fact,
the top
huh.
three is Tuj Home. Were you surprised at that?
Mm.
Abda and Nasibo.
Uh, yeah, actually, I think that should be on the top three. I feel it's an interesting mix.
Yeah,
Not something that I would expect.
yeah,
These other ones I would still expect. Like if you were to like not tell me who's going to be on the season, I would try to, or you would probably try to come close to something like this, where it'd be like pop and rap.
yeah,
But
yeah,
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 I would never pick the Shafi siblings in one song.
yeah, yeah,
Um, or like Nasibo and Abda in one track, I
yeah.
think.
And what about Go? Go is also up there in the rankings.
Go as a like a surprising collaboration.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Go was also, yeah. I mean, it's it's interesting. But we like the last time we discussed this, right? Atif is kind
Out of
of
his,
moving
yeah,
towards.
yeah,
So it doesn't surprise me for as someone who's watching Atif's trajectory,
yeah.
moving towards more
Were
more
you
contemporary
surprised?
sounds.
I don't know if you saw this, but you called out how obviously Manu Atif's verse was,
Dude,
and
yes.
so many other people also did, to the point where Manu
Yeah.
acknowledged that, oh, great to see. I was like, oh, is this
Yo.
good, bad?
Yeah, it's bro, you got hacked is what's happened. Like it's like the formula is unfortunately like it's evident for people who follow Manu, I guess.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like you listen to it in the first verse and it's just like, yo, this is straight
yeah,
up Manu. You can tell there's a Manu track.
yeah.
Um, how did you feel about it being like so overtly a Manu track?
I didn't think about the Manu connection until you said it. At which point I only heard
Mm,
it once, and like I said, I'm sort of like mid on Abdullah Siddiqui, so I was like fine on the song as well.
mm,
But again, there's a big difference. One of my problems was I see the video first on my TV. The speakers on the
sure.
TV aren't as good. Then every song sounds 8 times better when it's on headphones. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I don't like not care for the song. But
Mm,
yeah, I like Manu as an artist,
sure.
and therefore, and I appreciate Atif doing different things as compared to classic Atif. So I think it worked. I didn't like not like it. I thought, oh, that's cool. I
Mm,
mean, it's great that, and but I did see that this is like you could just replace the only difference between Manu and Atif in that song would be Manu doesn't hit those higher notes
yeah.
that Atif can
Yeah,
hit.
yeah, yeah. Other than that, the verses, the chorus,
Yeah,
the sort of teasing the alaps in certain
yeah, yeah,
parts,
yeah,
the
yeah,
the very
yeah, yeah.
standard mono thing.
Micro ups.
So yeah, micro copyright
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So I think yeah, that was a very overtly mono track.
Mhm.
But in some ways, it's kind of nice to be discussing a Pakistani music like this as well.
Sure.
Okay, you have like these big names, but we're also following the names that aren't on Coke Studio and how they're influencing the songwriting, and it feels like a very vibrant
Yeah,
music scene
yeah,
in
yeah,
a
yeah,
way.
yeah. Again, that's that Zulfi vision, I guess, coming
Yeah,
through
yeah,
that
yeah,
collaborative
yeah.
approach. Then the other thing that people had, this was less on the Instagram poll that we did,
Hmm.
but way more on the in the realms of discourse that is Twitter, where the intellectuals were like, why is there so much Punjabi? And I thought this was supposed to be sound of the nation. I was like, where are they getting that? But it is in the tagline,
It
sound
is
of
in
the
the tagline.
nation.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
like, yeah, this one woman, I forget her name. Oh, Nida Kirmani, of course. She was like, there's Punjabi. Okay. No, she said there's Shini, I think is Hassan Rahim, the language he was
Hasan
saying there.
Rahim's native language, correct?
There's
Yeah,
Balochi, there's some Urdu. But then what about 8 other languages? Like she had like not even eight, like 20 other languages. Why
there
them?
are
Why
yeah
not
there are
them?
20 other languages. So let's
And
do a now that's what we call Coke Studio Volume 40. Where there's like 50 songs on there. And it's like
yeah,
sab ka kota pura hoga.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And but people
Uh,
did say why so many Punjabi songs. And
Look, I think I can acknowledge the fact
okay,
that there are disproportionately more Punjabi songs in this season than any other language, but I don't think that it's some sort of like nefarious sort of scheme
yeah,
for like Punjabi hegemony and like
dominance.
cultural
Yeah, yeah.
dominance kind of thing. I don't think it's that nefarious. I just think that it's maybe a proximity thing
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
It's
Zulfi
Lahore.
and this it's Lahore. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Lahore, bro.
yeah,
So so I think it's just that. I think it's maybe more convenience. And also we should really not expect sugar water companies to, equally represent,
yeah, yeah. Because
the
that the
demographics
question,
and like cultures of like is tarah to phir baat, then you should be like, okay, why aren't we talking about like other issues, and why isn't there a song on inflation, or why isn't
yeah,
there a
yeah, yeah,
song on political dynasty, you know what I mean? So like then it's never ending. Why do you
yeah,
start on language and end on language? I'm sure there's plenty of non Punjabi or like diverse musicians on there. So why is the singing part of it given more preference than like the musician parts of it?
yeah,
That's also
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
This
can agree.
opinion,
Yeah, go ahead.
this opinion raised the unanswerable question that people I think don't have the right answer for is what is Coke Studios' job?
Hmm.
Coke Studios' job is not representing Pakistan. Coke Studios' job is this is an ad for Coke. At the
Yeah,
end of
it's
the
making
day,
money. It's purely profitable. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a profit venture,
yeah,
and expecting like a profit making corporation as humongous as Coke to suddenly be like, we are now like this art
yeah,
establishment, or
yeah,
this art institution. No, like,
yeah,
stop expecting that.
yeah.
I don't
I
understand
think
that.
the reason Coke Studio is good is because Coke Studio wanted a good campaign. So they hired great people, and those people did what they wanted to do.
Yeah,
But yeah, like no one was telling Zulfi, oh, you should be like representative of Pakistan's population. No one told Rohel Hayat, oh, maybe go to Turkey. It was like, Rohel Hayat, you're doing it for
yeah,
Coke Studio. He's like a bucket of money. And he's like, I'll do
yeah.
this, I'll do that. And it's just one guy just making some decisions. So I don't think there is any insertion point unless Zulfi decides, like
Mm,
Zohib Kazi did, where he was like, "Oh, we'll go to like these far-flung areas of Pakistan, get
sure.
their sounds." That was a specific decision made by one person in one season of Coke Studio,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. And that
and nobody
decision
gave
is
a
like
shit.
a
By the way,
more.
nobody liked it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, exactly.
people liked
That
it, we
was
liked it, but it wasn't
sure.
like ultra popular.
it so Zohaib's decision was, it came from like, it was a philosophical decision, right?
Yeah,
So he was basically like, we're going to go to these places because there are like power dynamics when it comes to like being in a studio and all these things. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go to like these places, indigenous musicians,
yeah,
indigenous places and stuff. And that was a it was basically a philosophical question that was answered through a season, right? Ab wo Coke doesn't care.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Coke
yeah,
doesn't care what you do. Bring in the views, represent the brand well,
yeah,
and you'll get another season. It's really that simple for Coke.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, we can dissect it. The intellectuals can sit and dissect what was missing, what wasn't missing. But at the end of the day, it's Coke Studio. It's not like Napa, or like, we're
Sure.
not like.
Yeah, it's that thing
So
where Coke Studio, since it has started, has been positioned as this savior of Pakistani music,
mm,
which is not something that it's trying to do, nor something it should have to do. Like, you can't expect a brand to save your dying culture if that's what
sure,
people are hoping
sure.
from it.
That's interesting, and I think that you'd also mentioned, this podcast is going to go on longer than we anticipated. But um, you had made a demarcation in music. I think you called it the third wave of Pakistani pop music or
Oh, yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
This
I
one,
call this the third wave. Yeah.
third wave. So the first one was
First one was the early
Nazia.
90s. So I call that, so someone had that thing. So the
Hmm.
Zia period is pre first wave. So the first
Okay,
wave is the
okay,
90s after Zia.
sure.
Pre first wave has Nazias and Vital Signs, Barbarians, maybe with, Asadam. Um, and then there's the 90s, where there's a lot of people coming through.
Yeah.
There's the Pepsi sponsorships and Junoon and a bit of Vital
Hmm.
Signs and Awaz and all those people.
Hmm.
Then that dies down, I think, towards the Nawaz Sharif era. Then Musharraf does his thing where he has the music channel. So that's the second wave, where Indus Music, MTV Pakistan, later
Sure.
ARY Music, the music, they all come out. Explosion of bands from where we got Zulfi and
Hmm.
Atif.
Hmm.
Um, and then that died down because terrorism. So usually then we skipped a decade because terrorism. In that
Yeah.
decade was
Yeah.
only Coke Studio, which was very popular
Yeah.
first five
so
seasons.
this so this is basically what I wanted to talk to you about, is like my demarcation for music is what you're saying. Like, it feels like there's so I'm not counting like the 90s wala era, but there's a very clear demarcation of uh pre-terrorism, or like during, like, sort of, I guess you call it zarbe as pre-zarbe ab post zarbe as, right?
Sure, sure.
Right, so there's like the sound. And so maybe what Rohail's Coke Studio was trying to do was, in that time, is present the Sufi image, the
Okay,
moderate
okay.
wala, image, that we're love and peace loving, and we're all
Yeah,
about
yeah,
like,
yeah.
culture. So I feel like a lot of that sound is a reaction to the global impression of
Sure.
our country. And
Yeah.
so after we had after the imminent threat of terrorism had kind of died down, then what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? Then where does the sound go? When there's no existential threat on your life, then your sound is and your songwriting is very different.
Sure.
Then you get
Sure.
songs, then you get artists like Manu and Abdullah
Yeah.
Siddiqui, and
Yeah.
the topics also change
Yeah. Yeah.
dramatically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I feel like that's a big like kind of marker. And so what we're seeing in this season's Coke Studio is the kind of that is also a big shift in that there's a post-terrorism. This is like music post-terrorism, I guess.
Sure. Sure.
And you could also look at this, like we could have an entire like podcast about like Faris, for example, but like Faris's pre-terrorism and post-terrorism songs are
Yeah.
basically the thesis for the sound or like the headspace in which musicians were in
Yeah.
that kind of lost decade.
Yeah.
And
Awam
then
Jawab De
here.
versus the
Yeah,
past 3 years, maybe, of Faris.
exactly. So his past 3 years are a lot more like, hedonism,
Flexing.
debauchery,
Yeah.
flexing. So
Yeah.
a lot of music is like in that direction, right? So there's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
like hedonism, a lot of like debauchery, a lot of
In
like
the present,
having
sort of.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, having fun.
Yeah.
So I think that
I didn't think about Coke Studio being like, well, it makes sense because music and artistic productions are always a reflection of the time they're in.
yeah, and we know Ruhail and his, I don't say like political like affiliations, like, or who he like associates with most, but you can understand that he also ascribed to that sort of worldview of like,
Sure.
we have to represent Pakistan in like a very peaceful kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like our history is like way deeper than what we're seeing here, and there's like a lot of good values in the history that might not be reflected in the news. Yeah, that makes sense. And also the rail obviously coming from the Zia era.
Right. And the audience also, I feel like after like 13 seasons of talking about like how great our culture is, we were also like, theek hai, like what about now?
Yeah.
What about now? We're not like, we don't have to prove. Also, this whole like cultural shift of like, why do we have to prove to high like bigger world powers that we're like peaceful and like the model minority and that kind of thing. So that view also changed. So Coke is like the last person to get the memo. I feel.
Yes.
In all of this.
Yeah.
At the end, they're like, okay, so this isn't working. Let's do something new. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then this is what we get.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good. Overall, any closing thoughts on the season? The future. So Rizwan was like, in the previous podcast, he's like, all right, man, it was a great season. Yeah, he's like,
it's like that George Costanza thing where he decides like he's gonna crack a joke, and as soon as everyone laughs, he just leaves the room.
Yeah.
Like he wants to end it on a high every time. He just like leaves a boardroom meeting. He's like, all right, thank you, bye. So no, this is the same thing we talked about. Why would Coke kaun se keede ne kaata hai, where they're going to be like this? We was a successful as hell season.
Yeah.
We're going to milk this. This is we're a corporation. We're going to milk things. So
of course, and I'm sure they're readying out a contract for Zulfi for like the next 50 years based on this season. Like
right.
Global viral top 50 has a Coke Studio song. The president, the CEO or CFO of Coca-Cola internationally posted on LinkedIn about Pasuri doing so well.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see this. Wow.
So like now they're like, all right, bro, Zulfi, forget your life.
Yeah.
He's
We
in that
own
Marvel contract now.
There's that Marvel money.
Yeah.
For sure. But okay, so we can both agree with the fact that it's not going anywhere.
Sure.
Season 30 tak, Zulfi's on, that kind of thing. But my question is, who are you seeing in the next season?
Manu, for sure. Manu has to be there. Manu is too big a talent, even if he's not as big a celebrity. But like Manu is one of those people, like he put out like 800 songs last year or something. I don't know, man. Even more than the songs he put out, he was involved in yet more productions.
Sure.
So Manu has way too much talent, skill, etc. to be ignored. I wouldn't be surprised if Kashmir came. They're also a fairly big band. They have connections with Zulfi. They're also quite decent. I don't know if Atif Aslam will be back. He might be, but because he's been in so many Coke Studios. Young Stunners, I don't know if they'll be back. And again, it also depends, right, on where they go. This season was like all videos, not in studio, all originals.
Yeah. So there's that whole like, newness factor. So all these artists, all these videos, there was a newness to them. So you were like, okay, I'm into this. It's something new. You can't repeat it anymore.
Yeah.
And do we have enough artists with like Hasan Rahim was like the number one kind of cult favorite artist that was, he should be on Coke Studio, and he was on Coke Studio. Who do you know other than Manu and a few other artists who have that kind of a large following that Coke can be like, okay, you can come on board. So it's gonna have to be bringing in the old guys again. And so we're back to,
I think Fawad Khan needs to come back just for like filling that senior role. Zulfi himself, Sarkhel was like, I want Zulfi to sing. And I was like, Zulfi's not a singer. And maybe he doesn't want to. I mean, Taka-Tak. That would be
Taka-Tak would be very, that would really challenge the audience. I would love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciated what they did on Velo with Taka-Tak, with
right.
I think Nika Chaudhary, her name is, and Taka-Tak with like the Kathak and the thing. I was like, oh shit. Speaking of then Velo, Shamoon Ismail might be there.
Yeah.
One of the Jaswals.
I guess you could. The Jaswals are also legacy.
Yeah, they're actually old enough to be legacy, but like they're still,
they've been on previous seasons as well.
Maybe
maybe what they could do is maybe find earlier artists that have been on the previous 13 seasons, and then kind of like they did with this one, is like introduce them with like interesting artists and kind of mix them and see how it goes.
I haven't seen something,
but it's going to be a very big challenge. Yeah, Mikal, I don't know, man. Mikal is like this big kind of like, black hole of like information where you don't know what's going on with him. Why isn't he putting out more music? And like,
they're in his studio, Manu and like Rosio and stuff. They're also at times in Mikal's studio. I'm like, where's Mikal? Where's Ja? Faraz Anwar.
Yeah. I actually, that's the thing, right? Because Nescafe had a lot of like crazy shredding solos. Faraz Anwar had a really big song on there. And I was really like, when Zulfi was announced on Coke Studio, I was like, we should have like those like sweep arpeggio solos and like just harmonizing.
I think there was one
solos
solo in the whole season.
Asme Ye Duniya Mein, right? Yeah.
And that too wasn't like maybe face melting. It was nice, but it wasn't face melting.
Yeah, it wasn't face. It wasn't like this is the solo, like here's like a 2-minute solo for you. So one of those would be nice. I wouldn't mind that.
But all in all, I think we can agree that like it's like a massive achievement for us to be talking about Coke Studio this much after 13 seasons.
After again with the 13. It reminds me of that. I don't know if you remember this Back to the Future 2, where he goes to like the downtown of his like village, and there's like a holographic Jaws, and it says like Jaws 14 or something. So
tell me this thought exercise. Coke Studio season 1. Where were you living? Were you in Karachi?
I was in Karachi when it was recorded.
Yeah.
But when it released, I had moved to Abu Dhabi.
I was in Pakistan. So between then, is this, and then did you go to the US after or before?
Yeah, so I was in the process of moving to the US. So maybe like 6-7 months after that, I was in the US.
Yeah. Our lives have changed.
Yeah, we've changed. Yeah, we've passed. Like, we've lived our lives.
Half our life has been.
Join us again on two old people reminisce.
But yes, I think that'll be it. Thank you very much, Sarfaraz, for coming. We are off to do some off-air gossiping for obvious reasons, but you'll find him at the links below as usual. And Zulfi, please return my calls. I haven't called.
Sun le yaar, please.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.